Welcome to Sustainable Futures with Daniela Bass on the first and the third Saturday every month at 10 a.m. Chess time. Join me for in-depth conversations, exclusive interviews, and strategic insights with industry leaders, policymakers, and innovators shaping our future. We'll explore how integrating social fairness enhances business and impacts sectors like fashion, food, tech, tourism, sports, and more towards a sustainable social change. Every organization gets stronger by challenging itself, so do we. I know it from my own life experience as a woman with a disability who understands the power of resilience, communication, and of thinking out of the box, and as a female executive leader at global level on social sustainability and inclusion. Be inspired, learn, and gain insights. Tune in, think different, and act with purpose. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, in whichever part of the world you are. Behind every champion lies a story untold, and today we uncover the remarkable journey of Lina Khalifeh, a martial arts expert whose fight goes far beyond the ring. So let's reveal how her battle for empowerment is reshaping lives in ways you won't expect. Hello, Lina.
Hi, Daniela.
Hope
How
you're
are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Lina, let me tell something about you to our audience. You are a Jordanian taekwondo black belt champion. You are the founder of SheFighter, which is the very first self-defense studio for women in the Middle East. And you were inspired by a friend's experience with the domestic violence, right? So that's when you decided in 2012 to launch this initiative to empower women in Jordan to protect themselves. And currently, Lina, my dear audience, Lina, she is also the philanthropy and partnership manager of Pink Triangle Press. Khalifeh's work has earned global recognition, including acknowledgement from Barack Obama and the BBC's 100 Women list. Lina, are you ready? I have a tricky question for you.
Yeah, go ahead. Born ready.
Beyond being a philanthropist, your achievements as a taekwondo champion as well, and the founder of SheFighter, how have your personal experiences, passions, and resilience shaped your journey and commitment to empowering others?
I always wanted to, help and be in service of people in society. So I understand that, we get education and educated in different, fields and majors, but you feel if you have a knowledge or skill that you want to share it with the world. So I've always been that person who would love to share what I learned to others. Um, I I I started very young, as a lot of entrepreneurs sometimes start, but sometimes we think that we are not ready or we limit ourselves to start a project. But in fact, if you start young, you work on a muscle for taking risks. And the earlier you start, the better in taking risks in starting projects, because then later on you're going to have big risks as you grow up. And I always had a background in martial arts. I loved movement in general. I thought play and movement is something that I need to contribute to others, not to take life too seriously, and have fun and learn through art. So after I think that my friend's experience of like being assaulted was a drive for me to start SheFighter, the project to help women how to stand up strong, how to defend themselves, but at the same time have so much fun in the training. So that's how I took the step And I launched my project.
So let me ask you something about it. Now, you mentioned the SheFighter, and I did as well. So, as the founder of SheFighter and a champion for women's empowerment, Lina, how have you seen the impact of self-defense training transform the lives of women facing violence?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's all knowledge and education. So if you teach a woman how to, use her body to defend herself, she would feel she would have a tool in case any situation or dangerous situation would arise, and then she will have more confidence toward how to protect herself in case any problem arise. But in fact, I teach them all the skills. I give them all the tools, but I always tell them, I teach you how to fight in order not to fight. So the moment you learn how to fight, you never attract any kind of violence in your life, because that kind of fear you stepped into and you learned about how, the dark side in life. And then after that, you realize that you're not afraid anymore. So if you're not afraid, you will never attract it. So it's all also in our minds. But people usually stay away from learning something that can be a bit dangerous, because they're afraid to actually, face it in their lives. But the moment you face it, and the moment you stand, you learn how to stand strong for yourself,
Mhm.
it's gonna vanish. It's not gonna be there. So it, of course, it shaped a lot women's personality. I also we brought a lot of joy in the training, so it's not very serious. It's like, yeah, you're coming here to train self defense, but it's so much fun. There's music. You're gonna meet people, and so it's a fun environment.
So you're helping them actually through sport to build self-esteem.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And so that kind of vibe and energy goes through, even though maybe you don't see it, but people perceive it. And that would be already, I think, as you mentioned, is already an amazing tool to push away potential dangers to a certain extent. So,
Yeah.
how did turning your personal mission into a global movement for women's self-defense, how does it feel? And how can other entrepreneurs scale their impact like you did?
Yeah, for sure. So you start with a solution to a problem, and after that, you start asking yourself questions. So it's literally like, writing down questions. What can I do? What skills do I have? And then you start figuring out, what do you want to provide as a service, or as a product? Depends on what you're looking for. And then from there, you start thinking and asking during your project. So for example, the first 2 years of my business, I had no system for training of trainers or expanding or anything. I realized the customers that are coming, they get bored at some point and leave the training because there is no system. So I said, what if I develop a system, and then the system will have testing and certificates like a school, and then they will be motivated to stay, for the next level, and then the next level, and so on. Like any sport, I decided to make level system. And that was the first time, I would create a level system. Of course, it took me time to create it and think about it. And then I started certifying trainers and train them. So these trainers would train different levels. So they start with beginner, and then intermediate, and so on. So we had a 5 level system. So you start with pink level, then silver, then black, and then gold, and then the last one is a master level. And the master level, so the master trainers, um, they are allowed to certify other people as well. So they get to a level where they're actually replicating your system. So in that way, you don't just, train by yourself. You have a whole, army of people training everywhere in the world. So it was a great system of, not just me. providing the training, but others providing the training. So I would encourage people in entrepreneurship or have ideas. I mean, as they go along the way, they will start asking questions on how to solve certain problems. And then from there, it's always good to create a system that would, keep going with or without you. So creating that system will actually make it expand.
So, I believe very much, and everyone nowadays talks about sustainability that can be environmental, economic, social, etc. So, you have created a system that is sustainable now and in the future.
Yeah, sustainable
Ama-
for sure.
Amazing. Lina, you started the SheFighter from your basement, from what I understood, after a traumatic incident involving your friend, as we mentioned earlier. So, how can corporate leaders adopt the same bold grassroots approach to tackle gender inequality and violence, also in the workplace, in a sustainable manner?
Yeah, I think starting small is the start of everything. They need to implement actions. So corporates or leaders, sometimes there's a lot of talking, but there's no actions. There's a lot of research, but there's no action. There's a lot of like putting all the money on trying to find the percent, let's say, of gender-based violence, but there's no action. So they actually put the effort in figuring out the problem, but the solution is not being put effort a lot in. So I believe what corporates and leaders need to do is put more effort in the solution. So the problems are already, known with even the United Nations, UN Sustainable
Women.
Development Goals. It's just we need to implement and put the money and the funding going to solutions. And from there, they even if they empower or even if they like fund like a small project somewhere in Asia or that is working toward women or gender equality or equity or women empowerment. But it's what I see is like the money goes mostly, or the funding and the effort and the energy is going a lot toward analyzing the problem, but not toward the action items.
Why a corporate leader, in your view, would be interested in promoting gender equality in the workplace? What would be his
I
or her
mean,
benefit?
it's very important to have, if the corporate leader want to have more productivity, they need to really diverse the workspace. And to diverse the workspace, they need to go talk to their team. And sometimes their team are stressed, or their team have problems that they don't share with the leaders.
Mhm.
So what they do is like it would show on the outcome of their work. So sometimes implementing activities and team building workshops or any outside project, get them outside of the workspace, will actually make them more productive and more optimistic. Or maybe they can see the problem or solution in another light. So it's very important to implement diversity and implement gender equity and equality in the workforce 100%, because you need both minds. You need the male mind, and if they're thinking a lot about logic stuffs, and you need more the female mind, which will balance it and create more, let's say, a home in the corporate world where it's just very much patriarchy driven. So you need both to have a living, fruitful or productive organization.
Have you ever provided any of this kind of training to companies, or you are mainly working with your own company in training women on how to defend themselves in case of physical violence? Or
Yeah, we no, I've provided a lot to corporates. So I worked with Salesforce multiple times. I in Canada and in San Francisco in the U.S. I provided training for Deloitte. I provided so many corporates, PepsiCo. So it's important because like these companies, they want a workshop that will get them out of their daily routine.
Can you give us a snapshot of what you do once you provide some training? One example, so that people can visualize and understand
Yeah.
what your service offers.
Yeah, so there's like a workshop, or it's provided side by side with the movement, which is like the self-defense training at the end of the workshop. But depends on the environment. Sometimes you just have tables. Sometimes you have a empty space where you can let them stand up and move. So at the beginning, I focus a lot on bringing their strength, or like getting them to realize what their strengths are, and do like more theory workshops on discovering their superpowers. What did they like as a child? Their dreams that they feel like they are buried somewhere. And it's more about like just getting them to remember who they were before they become a corporate robot. And after that, after getting into that and getting them into remembering who they really are, if they want, because some people would resist remembering because it's too hard to remember, and they don't want to go back to believing that they can achieve their dreams, right?
Yeah.
It's so scary for them. So either you inspire them, or either they would, like kind of resist and try to um, protect who they are right now because it's more safe and secure. And after that, I start providing more the movement training, which is
Mhm.
physical intelligence, which is like how you need to stand, your power poses, your self-defense like techniques, and then get them to engage with each other. And when they do that, they become more like happier, lighter, because they touch each other and they started to learn together. So they drop all of like titles and all these things of like, who am I right now, and they just have fun. So that's mostly what I'm focused on.
So they spread their wings. And this is mainly for women, or you provide it
Both.
also both,
Both. Yeah, yeah.
right? We spoke about the things you have done. So let me ask you a question about the past, and then one of the present, and the third one will be about the future.
Okay.
So, once upon a time, Lina, reflecting on your journey, how do you think your early steps, especially founding SheFighter, have impacted the current movement of women's empowerment and self defense in vulnerable communities? And if you can give us some examples, either personal or professional.
Yeah, for sure. As I said, I realized I do have a skill that I can provide to and help train women. Growing up in the martial arts world, I thought that there is a lot of women are doing this, but I realized not. I realized there's few women that are taught how to fight, and most of them, they don't want to contribute to other women. But what I did is I said, I have a knowledge, I need to spread it. And then when I started very small with a low budget. That's what I could afford at that time. And then I started baby steps, and I wanted to like highlight something important. While creating or during your journey, you always have to have fun. So you don't think a lot about the end result of your project. You have the big vision in your mind, but you have to have fun every day. If you're having fun, things will happen to you. Opportunities will open to you. People want to partner up with you. People just want to be with you all the time because you are having so much fun in the present moment. So I realized I'm whatever I was doing, I was having fun. I was planning, I was writing, I was, doing all of this work, but I was having fun during the process.
And that's actually a very important message you're giving to all of us, myself included. Uh, but when I say vulnerable communities and being able to defend themselves, either because they become, thanks to sport, emotionally and psychologically stronger, or physically they can defend themselves if they are under any form of violence. So when I mentioned vulnerable communities, for instance, I was thinking about women with disabilities. Are there any trainings available or else that your movement is creating and spreading throughout the world?
Yeah, so we partner up with a self-defense instructor from Holland who is disabled herself and has been providing self-defense with disability for disability for so many years. And I told her like I will work on getting the grant and all of that. You need to fly to Jordan to help me provide the training to different type of disabilities. So we provided training to women with disabilities on wheelchair or women who are blind, deaf, and autism. So it was a very great training, and I realize it's important because these women shared that they do get harassed and assaulted
Mm-hmm.
because of people or men getting advantage that they have disability. So learning what to do is actually so important for them to build more self confidence. So it was a really really a great project.
So, are you also collaborating with other countries? Now we move to the present. You said, that somehow your movement is spreading globally. You're also a philanthropist. So, are there other countries? You mentioned now the Netherlands, with whom you are working together.
Yeah, so definitely, we have collaborated with so many countries all over the world, from Mauritius Island in Africa, which is a heaven, heaven on earth, and we collaborated with South Korea. So we provided training in South Korea multiple times, and then yes, Holland, Portugal. We've done training in Italy where you are, Daniela. Yeah, we did Rome, we did Bologna,
I
and
missed you.
Padova.
I missed you.
Yeah,
Padova,
yeah, it
by the
was
way, is very close where I live presently, so it would have been amazing.
Padova. Yeah, Padova is a small city, so we did also training there. Yeah, so we did like so many countries, also
Hmm.
the United States, a bit on Latin America, but maybe, there has to be more work done on Latin America. But mostly these countries, Asia, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and the
Lina,
United
do
States.
you do you tailor the training based on the culture of the country where you go, or basically the structure is the same and can be applied to every culture where you have been working to?
Yeah, no, the training is mostly the same, but of course we tailor certain things based on the culture. For example, in South Korea or in Hong Kong, it's more of a shy culture, and the shy culture is like the women are shy, on demanding their rights or speaking up. And so the theory part, or let's say the verbal training, would be a bit different than countries who has, let's say, high sexual assault, or let's say they have more domestic violence. So it depends on where you're at. Like for
Yeah.
example, if you go to some African countries, you don't expect the women to be on the same physical strength as women in Europe,
Hmm.
because they're not exposed to sports in general, and then you have to start baby steps. Well, women in Europe, like Holland, they can go to level 3 in 2 weeks. So yeah, different backgrounds, different cultures for sure.
How long your training from A to Z takes to be then, how can I say, to get the master and be able
Master.
yes, and be
Yeah,
able
maybe master
yourself
is a
to.
bit. Yeah, master is the hardest one. It's the last one. So I do provide, like, we have the training online as well on the website shefighter.com. But to start with the two levels, it doesn't take, like, let's say pink level is the easiest one, which is the beginner level. If it's in person, it's about like 18 hours of training, plus shadowing hours, like where they have to shadow another trainer. The second level is also around 18 hours, and then you get a bit higher with like how many hours they need to finish in every other level. But the master level, you cannot test unless you have like a minimum of 6 months to 1 year of experience,
Yeah.
in the system, in the program. So after that, you are eligible to start working on your master level.
Wow. So tell me, talking about the present now, what innovative strategies in women's empowerment and self defense are currently driving inclusion and social equity within sustainability initiatives? You mentioned equity earlier on, so that's a very important topic for me as well. So, are there any innovative strategies
For innovative strategies regarding gender
driving
equity,
inclusion and social equity? Yes.
inclusion and social equity is mostly, I would say, starting with schools in building an entrepreneurship mindset into women, having both women and girls and boys learn the technical way of creating projects, testing them, maybe failing, asking questions, being curious. And unfortunately, in our life, there is so much social media, distractions, that we are trying to eliminate, to focus more on ourselves and what we can contribute to this world. But if we focus a lot on distractions, we're not going to use our best talent, especially with all the distractions of social media. So I would say, building schools that are more technical, entrepreneurial, innovation driven, artistic, all of these schools.
Lina, you mentioned the social media. So, how are you using your platform, both the one of SheFighter and Pink Triangle Press? You might explain what it is about to push for
Yeah.
more equitable practices.
100%. I joined Pink Triangle Press because I was thinking that I need a new challenge. Also, I want to learn. I love to learn. I think you're the same, Daniela. I love to learn new industries. So I was curious about the media industry because the media shapes our daily lives in content and storytelling. So I was open to receiving opportunities. I started with the media, by even like taking roles in Netflix, like acting and all of this, and I realized it's very creative. And
Mhm,
then it's also like challenging. Like I would challenge myself. Oh, what is something I've never done before
mhm,
that I like to do? And it was mostly media, like acting, storytelling, filmmaking, all of that. And then I was curious. I was like, oh, this is a really fun industry. You create, stories. You can, be the hero or the enemy. So I got the, offer after that to join Pink Triangle Press as the business side of connecting them to philanthropists and let's say business partners, because they all come from journalist backgrounds. So most of them are not like business, driven toward, all of
profit.
that, and they wanted someone on the business side. So I'm the best at it. It's like, oh, that's great. I love networking and connecting, as you are, Daniel. And I said I would love to attend events and connect you to like grants and businesses. So while I'm doing this, I'm also learning about media. I'm learning about their job as well, like every person in the company. So for me, any opportunity that I want to take, it has to be a learning thing for me. And how can I contribute and use it, toward building something creative?
Mhm.
So I'm on that stage right now where I'm discovering the media industry. At the same time, I have projects with SheFighter with refugees, especially. There's so many refugees.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they keep growing in numbers. and we have partnerships with different like United Nations and UNHCR and UNRWA, if you heard about it.
Hmm.
So we're mostly focused on that with SheFighter. And yeah, I'm changing the way of like how can I help people to see the bright side of life, even though there's so much bad news around us. So I feel like my job is to always like bring the light in whatever project I'm doing.
Well, the light in this case, by looking at the historical situation we are facing in the world, I think is the best medicine, actually. You're creating the right pill to see more and more light, to help people to see the light we all have in us, in ourselves. We just
100%.
have to make it shine again, and all this darkness has to disappear. So, so let's talk about the future then. Um, I can already see maybe what your answer might be, but I want to ask it. And the question is, if you were 20 years old in 2071, what kind of a world would you hope to see for women's safety and empowerment, and in general for human beings? And after this, I will have another question related to future for you, Lina.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to. I feel like our world is created by people who are not happy, they're they want to bring their unhappiness to this world, and they don't want to color it.
Mm.
So my word would be, we're back to the essence, to dreaming as children,
Yes.
how can we contribute? I want a colorful planet, I want everybody to really know how they can tackle the dark side, but at the same time learn that by harming others, they're not gonna grow another level, they're gonna drop in levels. So my word would be, let's say, a fantasy,
Yes.
mostly like waterfalls and animals running around, and humans are just discovering their best skills, teaching each other, contributing to this life. A very colorful planet, and beautiful, beautiful planet. So that would be my world that I would like to create, and bringing the children to
Yes.
contribute to it, because the children has everything we need to create this life. We just, unfortunately kill children's dreams because those people, they're miserable, so they're not happy. That's why they want to crash other people's dreams, and they're desperate, I guess. So mostly like enlightenment, let's say, enlighten people that even it's never too late. There is like a bit of light inside of you somewhere, just you have to dig deeper.
And you're already doing it in a way with your organization from what you described in terms of activities and service and products. But in order to get there in the year 2071, to have this vision of colors and
Oh, amazing.
um, no, we want to have colors and the mutual respect and dignity of human beings, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what steps your organization do you think should, or maybe is already prioritizing today to ensure a sustainable future in that direction, where the gender equality and inclusion are also norms for future generations? Which steps are you or will you be taking with your organization to get there?
Yeah, I'm thinking I always liked that somebody believed in my idea when I was young. It felt really good to have somebody believe in you. So I want to be that person to people who have ideas, who want to implement them, who I can help them and fund them maybe at some point, and find a way how to build this project together. So my organization will keep growing in different ways. It's not going to remain maybe the same, but it will benefit to the world in different ways. But I definitely want to be that person to those young people that would, feel like, oh, they can't wait to have somebody believe in them or believe in their ideas. and mentor entrepreneurship, having spaces where there's young energy about creation and building, especially not destruction. So I would want to be in those spaces of building a better world, inventing something better for health, or so I want to be in those spaces. So hopefully, I will keep working on myself and the organization, and I get to that level at some point.
I see beautifully here this fusion of the woman who is a sporty woman like you, where there is a healthy antagonism. And this is so beautifully shining in the business side of who you are. And on the other hand, the fusion with the other you, who is a philanthropist. It's a beautiful mix. I love it.
Thank you so much, Daniela. Thank you.
Lina, we are almost at the end of this wonderful conversation, and I really thank you for the time you have found
Oh,
for
thank
it.
you.
I would like to know what's next on your agenda once we say adieu for today.
Definitely, keep spreading the workshops, especially mostly like, as I said, like before, about mostly like how to enlighten people a bit, how to, I know, like pulling them out of some, especially in certain countries, where there is a lot of conflict and war and all of that. How can, bring happiness? So that would be, my next, collaborations, work, and with the media industries, keep learning and being open to hear different point of views, and see how this path would go.
Well, I thank you so much, Lina, and I wish you a wonderful, fantastic conversation you're having with other people, so to spread the voice.
Thank you so much, Daniela, for having me.
Ciao, ciao, bye. As I wrap up this episode, my heartfelt gratitude to today's guest and to all of you. Join me for the next episode as we delve deeper with special guests, uncovering thought-provoking insights and actionable steps, paving the way for a brighter, inclusive, sustainable tomorrow. Thanks also to Damian Morton, music, and Maria Cortez Gagliano, social media. Don't miss out next episode on shaping the future we aspire to. Ciao, ciao!